I identify pro-black.
History is about teaching us as a people that we're at war.
I want to speak the image of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed today.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Jah and Kev show. I'm Jah, my man over here is Kev, and how you been doing, man? Long time no see. What you been up to?
I've been up to Ramadan,
good,
man.
Good.
So yeah, it's been good, man. Had that break and had that time off and refresh my battery, so to say.
Okay.
And now we back, man. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, but I want to just give you a disclaimer now. You ain't been on air, you haven't been on air with me in a while. So when the guests, if they comment or they call in, take it easy, man. Don't do them like that.
Yeah, I'm refreshed, man. I'm ready for it.
Okay, so everyone that's tuning into this broadcast can be seen every first Tuesday and third Tuesday of the month. Mark your calendar, subscribe to this broadcast because we talk about a lot of interesting subjects, and we always welcome your input and your phone calls. But tonight we're going to be talking about from battlefield to backyard, the real impact of the war in Iran and how it affects African Americans. Because it affects us, and we're going to kind of get into a lot of different aspects of it, but we definitely want to put that as our centerpiece, because war is not really what you see in movies. And I'm sure, you in the military, and I know you've heard and seen some just devastating events that's happened when it comes to war. It is about it's not just about blood, but it's about broken bodies. It's about shattered minds. It's about families that will never be whole again. But tonight we're going to talk about the truth and what they don't show you, especially when we talk about the war with Iraq and the impacts that it has on African Americans.
Iran, you mean the war with Iran?
I say Iran. I say Iraq and Iran. It's Iran. So forgive me, but Kev, war and its effects, it spreads beyond the battlefield to African Americans.
Yeah, and I think one of the main reasons it spreads to people of color, and in America, we speaking mainly the Black and brown community, because we make up a higher percentage per our capita and having enlisted personnel in the military. And a lot of times that is purposely done because we navigate, they corral us because of our economic situations in our communities, that many of us that try to escape the hood, so to say, or so to speak, we end up in the military. That was my reason for going in the military. I was trying to escape the hood. I wasn't patriotic, anything like that. It was a way to escape. And then the benefits and all that stuff came secondary. And down the line, I wasn't thinking about dying on the battlefield.
Right.
It was just a way to escape. So many of us, it may be a higher percentage of us in the military and in those jobs, those foot soldier type jobs that's on the battlefield, as opposed to the white community, people may have a better education or something. You have to take a test to go in the military. Then how high you score on the test, it will give you a higher job or more job selection. And a lot of times people will select jobs that, okay, I'm not going to really see that much action if I select one of these jobs, as opposed to someone that scores lower. Then you're in the 11, the MOSs is like 11, Bravo, 13, all these. And these are like the foot soldiers and the artillery and the soldiers that would be going to war when things happen. So then it's a higher number of us, not just in the military, but even a higher number of us on the battlefield.
Yeah. And, it's important that we discuss this, because many times when we have a war going on, a lot of times African Americans, we avoid having this discussion. Now, this is a serious subject, man. It's very important that we talk about it because of its effects that it has on us. For example, right now we know that everything has gone up since the war has begun.
Right.
And it affects us because when you talk about paying $4 for gas, when we don't have as much as others, then that affects our pockets. You talk about groceries, you talk about electricity, you talk about rent, you talk about flights. And so this affects us, but yet many times we just kind of look at the news, and it's not that we need to watch it to believe what they say, but just to be informed. We'll say, I don't care about that. We kind of sweep it under the carpet. And sometimes that's to our own detriment, because you can see when you understand what's going on, you can prepare for it. You can do the best you can to prepare for the outcome of what we should do as a people. And I think that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because what you touched on is we don't really pay attention
Mhm.
to worldwide news like that. What's happening? And if you ask a lot of us, probably a lot of Americans, period. But like you say, the wars that will affect us to a higher extent
Mhm.
than most, that we should be more in tune of what's happening and
Mm.
why things. The thing is, why is it happening? You
Mm.
know, and a lot of times when these wars, because this is not like the first time. You named Iraq earlier, because we have been at war with Iraq,
Mm.
and we tend to stick our nose over there, you know, Afghanistan and things
Mhm.
like this. But the thing is, we are not in tune of knowing what's really happening.
Mm.
And many of us will be led into saying, well, I'm with Israel. I'm with Israel no matter what, for religious beliefs,
Mm.
because we think that Israel is more in tune with our religion here in America.
Right.
Mostly the black population or community are more Christian, the Protestant Christians,
Mhm.
as opposed to Catholic. But the Protestant Christians, we reading in our Bible, the children of Israel and all of this stuff, and we want to affiliate and bond with them.
Yeah.
So then anytime we hear what's happening with Israel, then
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I'm with Israel. And you're not really looking at what's happening. A lot of people don't know what's the issue over there with the Palestinians.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I remember years back when it was we were talking. I mean, they're always at conflict over there.
Exactly.
But when I ask people like, man, they just need to bomb those people. And I'm like,
Mm.
why? You know, what you talking about?
Right.
Then,
Right.
and this is people that I know like personally, like
Yeah.
family sometimes, and they'll say things like that. And do you really understand what's happening and
Yeah.
why there's a conflict over there?
Yeah.
You know, that's a system of oppression over there.
Right. See, and Kev, I don't think they look at it that way, because that's a very intelligent question, which is basically an interrogative when you ask a person, why do you think this is happening? Because as you mentioned earlier, you know, we have been given a book.
Right.
And in this book, since our inception, it's been drilled in our heads that this deity is on the side of a certain people.
Right.
And
Right.
so no matter what they do, right or wrong or otherwise, people side with them. And that's really a detriment, because you can't treat people any kind of way. And if your so-called deity is a just deity, to allow them to do what they do to other people and not have an understanding of, hey, these are men that have done this, and these men do it for their reasons, but you can't tie it to a book to
Right.
make people think that a deity is on your side. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, I had plenty of people get into it with me about that situation over there, the conflicts over there. And it's like these people, and I always say this on the battlefield. Well, I don't always say it. This is a quote from Kev.
Mhm.
On the battlefield, every war is fought between the righteous and the wicked.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now, the thing is, everyone on each side think that they are the righteous and the other side is the wicked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, when we're sitting on the outside looking in, we have this misconception
Mhm.
or predisposed notion that these are the righteous, you know,
Mhm.
and we're not looking at what's happening and why it's
Right.
happening. That would be like somebody like us doing in America something to the Native Americans,
Mhm.
and people saying, and it's a narrative that's going around saying that the Native Americans are the wicked people, and we are oppressing them and taking their land and doing everything we can. We're slaughtering them, murdering them, and doing all these type of things. But everyone that does it, they turn a blind eye to that, and it's just
Mhm.
like it's us against them, the
Mhm.
savages. Even the people that was here in America, I said a lot of times when I was growing up watching cowboy and Indian movies, I was like, I asked my dad, well, why are the Indians always trying to fight the cowboys? Why they always starting trouble?
Right. Right.
Because I was controlled by the media,
Yes, sir.
watching TV shows. John Wayne was the good guy. The good guys in the white cowboy had the natives as savages and things like this. And he had to school me,
Mhm.
you know. And so it's the same thing over there. You could
Right.
take a parallel view over there and say it's a system of oppression, and you're taking the people land that was there,
Mhm.
and you're stripping them of any power,
Mhm.
and they're trying to fight back.
Right.
They're
Right.
throwing rocks at tanks and things like this.
Yeah, and to kill people, and to bomb people, and to maim people, and
Starve them.
and to not have any type of compassion at all, and to say this is what these people get. When you look at our condition as a people
Yeah.
over here, we don't have the same mentality with us, because
Right.
we see us as the bad guys in many instances. But this is classical conditioning, like you said. But I want to ask you a question, because I know there's many answers, but I just want to hear what you have to say, because a lot of times you say things that are profound, and I know you're going to get into the details of it. But why do you think, Kev, that some of us don't like to discuss that which affects us in many ways? In other words, some African Americans, we don't want to hear, we could care less about a war. Okay. Now I know we want to make sure that there's food on the table and all that, but I mean, because it affects us, why is it that we rather talk about entertainment, we rather talk about media, who won the Oscars, when this war is affecting us big time, as we're going to talk about? So what is your thought on
I
that?
think it's a lot of ostrich effect. You know, they say the ostrich sticks his head in the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't want to see what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you see in scary movie people just put their head under the covers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've been through so much and this condition
Mm-hmm.
to deal with so much in this country that we don't, unless we have someone, a family member that's in the military, then we tend to turn
Okay.
on the TV and be
Okay.
worried about, okay, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Are they
Mm-hmm.
sending you? Are you over there? What's the body count? The little ticker that goes around about
Mm-hmm.
how many American troops were killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how we look at it. If it's affecting us,
Right.
then we're worried about it. And it's almost like some years back. I know things have started to change, but years back, if it wasn't happening to us,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was happening to Black people,
Right. Right.
like I say, like if you look at the Emmett Till thing,
Mm-hmm.
and his mom made a comment, those were things that happened to the people in the South.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are still Black people. It's just that you live up north and you think things are better for you.
Right.
So
Right.
when things are happening to us, have been happening to us, a lot of times if it's not right in our doorstep,
Mm-hmm.
then we're not concerned with it, even
Wow.
though it's us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of
Beautiful.
us are.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So I think that that's something that's been imprinted upon Black people, that we'll separate things and you'll say, okay, the things that's happening in the streets. You know, if my kids are older and this is happening in the Black community, many of us would disconnect from it if it's not going to affect our kids.
I see. That's beautiful, because I wanted to add to that too, and I'm saying the same thing you're saying, but I'm gonna use different words. I think we have an appetite for things that are really, that don't affect us. We the things that affect us, we don't have an appetite for that. In other words, this war is something that affects us, but because our appetite is not towards war, because we've been given a certain mindset since our childhood, and because it has gotten the best of us, we're more concerned about. And again, we all like movies, we all like sports, so I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that we spend more time looking at things and doing things that are really of none and void to us, as opposed to having a serious conversation about, what are you going to do, Kev, now that the gas is $4? Are you going to stay at home a little bit more, or are you going to keep riding, then complain when you can't afford to?
Yeah, I don't think America foresaw the gas prices escalating. I think what this dude this dude was selling America was that this war was going to be over in a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
No one saw the situation that we were going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we were thinking about that as if every war that happened, gas prices have shot up.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't really happened like that. This is a strategic thing that Iran is doing
Mm-hmm.
to you know, put pressure on America and to put the pressure on the rest of the world
Mm-hmm.
to get engaged and say, because it's affecting everybody.
Right.
Just like I was saying in the Black, when it's coming to your home, now we should be concerned because the gas prices are going up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's hitting everybody. I
Right.
don't care, it's hitting, you know, I think they were letting Chinese ships go by.
Mm-hmm.
They were using, I think they're going to use the Chinese currency. You know, these are strategic things. They were letting the Russian ships or something like that go by, but everybody else is being affected. So that makes the people that's being affected turn towards you and say, hey man, you know, hey, you need to do something. You
Right.
need to, and we're not helping you because you started this, and that's our NATO allies and things like that. So I think it's a strategic thing. I don't think anyone foresaw that happening. But I think that and I look at it like this, John. We have been through so much stress. I don't think we look to stress about anything else. We look for, you know, to be compensated in a way of relaxing and having fun.
Okay.
You know, it's just like, I mean, just, if you look at it, that's why they put the liquor stores in our neighborhood. That's why religion has come to the forefront of our communities. It's a church, a liquor store, everything, because we have been under so much stress. We need something to pacify us.
Right.
So I think that's part of what has happened to us psychologically, as far as looking at the worldwide things that happen, even because we don't, we're not patriotic like that.
Right,
As a
right,
whole, we're not like, oh, America, go do this. Like some of us may say that,
right.
but we look at it in the real of things because we've seen what America has done
Mm.
in real time with us and things like that.
But it even affects us psychologically because
Right.
when you think about it, many of us, we worry about what's going to happen next because you wake up every day and it's something, man. It's something that have us thinking about demise or something that would happen to us, our safety, our economy, and it's like psychologically speaking, we should be trying to get ourselves together about this because this is something that not only affects us, it affects our children. If you were in the military
Mm-hmm.
and you were going to be deployed, your children and my children would be concerned about their father
Right.
going somewhere. You see, so those, like you mentioned, those events is where we look at what's going on, and then it bothers us. But to the rest that don't have any military personnel in the Army or Navy, Air Force, Marine, wherever, then we don't look at it that way. And my whole take on it is this: we need to be more involved, and I don't mean going holding up picket signs. When I say involved, as far as strategizing how this won't get the best of us. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
How
But
do we do
do
that?
you think we should be concerned like thinking about the
I,
war?
I think we should be concerned about the effects of the war when it happens to us, because I'm an anti-imperialist myself,
Right.
because I understand that America, how it's done to us and what it's done to us, we can go fight for the country and then we still get treated like what over here.
I was thinking when you was talking, man. The one thing came to mind: syrup sandwiches, bro. We've been dealing with we've been dealing with a lot. We know how to tighten our belt and deal with things. You know what I'm saying? The other people, they may not. I mean, us in the brown community, they have their equivalent to the syrup sandwich, or maybe they was eating syrup sandwiches too, or whatever they're eating. But see, like, we know how to tighten our belt because we're the first ones to lose jobs. We're the ones that's living in poverty. So all our time here has been a struggle. So it's not a big thing to say, okay, man, because when I was coming up, gas was high. Maybe when gas was $1.88. As far as the family was concerned, I ain't got the gas to be running you all around, blah, 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 because we have always had to fight economically for everything we had, the crumbs. So when you was hungry, what we do, we go make syrup sandwiches. We make something out of something, and I don't think those people do that. See, they're worried about, okay, gas prices going, or they're worried about the stock. That have never been a thing in the black community, the brown community, worrying about the oil, the barrel prices and all this stuff like that. Not just for gas, but they may have stock in it, So I think they are more panic mode than we would be, because if we lose a job, we still survive. No matter what, we are survivors. So I don't think we panic or be thinking about if this happened. I mean, when you have your lights off and everybody else is doing well, you don't have no electricity. You don't have your refrigerator is empty and it has nothing to do with a war. So when the war happens, man, I still got my, food in the refrigerator. I may have to carpool or something like that. But I think we're used to doing things like that.
Yeah, we are used to doing things like that. And at the same time, we also have to look at, if you, again, were in the military and you had children, your wife, your girlfriend, your parents, your brothers and sisters would be concerned that the next day they wake up, you may be on the front line. So we do have, and I get what you're saying. So I agree with you. It's all of the above. Both things can be true at the same time. But I do believe that many of us, we may not be thinking about food on the table because we've always had to survive. But then there's another element that we have to discuss, which is the fear, the stress, the separation, the anxiety that comes with those who are actually in this particular basket. I know that they have different types of concerns that look like us. And I'm sure that a wife or girlfriend or a boyfriend, if his girlfriend is in the military or his wife is in the military, he's wondering, if I wake up tomorrow, is she going to be shipped, or is he going to be shipped on the front line? So yes, there's some concern there. And that's very serious. And I think a lot of times that's what I'm saying. We don't look at that.
Yeah. And I think, like, if I look at my friends, family, I don't know anybody in my family really in the military right now. So that's not a big concern about. Oh, and then we have to look at, war is not what it used to be for America. They got drones, they got planes, they're not, now they are sending troops now, but now that's a concern, because see, they were trying to win the war, in a safe way.
Mhm.
And now, wars can be fought safely because you have technology, people firing drones, people dropping bombs, people shooting missiles, and you're not hand-to-hand combat type things like that. But now that they're sending troops, I think people that have family members, and I think I have like one friend that I know that has a son in the military, but I don't think he said that his son is over there. So I don't think it's more concern like that. That's what
Mhm.
I'm saying. I think those of us in the black community, the brown community, that have relatives or something, then we're concerned.
Right,
But
right.
the others that don't, it's like,
Yeah.
we may. I asked a friend that's always worried about where we've been. Say, man, what happened today? Like, I don't know.
Right, right.
And I think that's the sentiment a lot of
Yeah,
the black.
yeah, that's
So
true.
what's the number here, man? So get some of these people to call
Sure.
in.
The
See,
number is 361-405-6111. Again, that's 361-405-6111. We would love to hear your comments, your questions, or your suggestions, recommendations, whatever you have to say about this war that's going on. We would love to hear your spin on it, because
yeah,
there's a lot of different spins, and we have ours, but at the same time, we're at least talking
yeah,
about it.
yeah. Y'all part of the community. Give y'all perspective.
Yeah.
I appreciate Maria Saze showing up. She said Hotep brothers. Um, Rashid Sabas said, peace and blessings. Israel is the baby brother of the big brother here. Stolen land is in their DNA. I appreciate that. And it goes deeper than that, because those
Yeah.
people are not. I seen someone post a sister. I'm going to give man, I can't think of the name, but she posted and I shared the post. She said, those are not is Israelites, they're
Mhm.
Israelis.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, see, that goes into the bit. We're looking at Israelites, and then those people are Israelis. That means that they are in a state that they created
Uh-huh.
recently. They
Uh-huh.
are not the same people in the same lineage. That's
Right.
a deeper conversation,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
But
gotta
I
have that.
appreciate that from our brother Shabazz and Barbara Royal. She said, Hotel Brothers, priest, sister, I appreciate you showing up. And my brother Jesse X, he said, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam, brother. Sakina, she said, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam, sister. And Jesse said, yes, sir, we have noodle soup. He's talking about the brown community,
Mhm.
cactus and egg taco, bean tacos, and tomato soup with pasta. He said, simple meals just to keep food in our stomach. And when times are tough or funds are low. I appreciate that comment, brother. And Nikita, I appreciate you showing up, sister. She said hello, and she said she shared it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kev, and I think too that many of us we still have to take, and I know you're not saying that we should just not be concerned about the war because we've always made it happen, but I think we still should have some type of precautionary measure, something basic, something practical, in that many of us are struggling financially right now. And if gas is $4 a gallon, then we should look at, for right now, maybe not just driving around the city sightseeing just because we
Oh
need to go
yeah, yeah,
sightsee.
yeah. I
You
mean,
see,
we know
this is
how
what
to
this
do
is what I'm
that. We
saying.
know how to. We
Yeah.
know how to.
Or maybe with our food, we shouldn't just buy a lot of junk just
Yeah,
because we have extra money. So I mean, there are some strategies that we don't discuss because, like you said, we've always made it happen, and that's a testament to us because we know how to survive.
yeah,
But at the same time, there are some things that we can all do to say, hey, even though this war is affecting me, I'm going to make sure that I do some positive things to help me. Teach your children about what's going on,
yeah.
and I'm not be bombarded with it, but teach them, what's really going on, and just kind of let them know, because a lot of them, we don't even talk to them about
Yeah.
that.
Now, it's hard for us, a lot of us, to teach our kids, like I was alluding to earlier, when many of us don't know what's going on.
Mm.
We need to educate ourselves on what's actually happening. Now, with this war, that's I think that's the what they call wagging the dog.
Hmm.
That's Trump trying to get away from the things that's happening. And what wagging the dog is, anytime there's perils here in the country that the president don't want to deal with, or the government, then they find a foe, a
Hmm.
common foe, and they jump on a country, or that's going to be an easy opposition, and everyone gets patriotic.
Hmm.
And it's like, stop talking about all this stuff. Don't talk about Epstein files. Don't talk about the economy.
Mm.
Don't talk about the real economy, because right before this war happened, this dude gave a state of the nation and he gave a bunch of lies. Like,
Right.
so, okay, now it's like the magician. You know, watch the birdie. He wants you to watch this hand
What? Yeah.
because he's doing something
Yeah.
over here. And they don't want this a distraction thing. So a lot of time they wag the dog, they'll start some type of conflict, they'll make some type of enemy, the immigrants, whomever, and that so everyone is behind that. And it's like they're not looking at it.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that's what's happening here. And I don't think the black community, the brown community really uh educates themselves.
Mm.
Like I said, for years, for decades, these things have been happening.
Mm.
And it's like you don't even know the participants. You don't know the Israel and Palestinian thing. That's a real issue that's going, it's not going to just be solved.
Right.
You know, the talk last year, because this dude wanted the Nobel Peace Prize, and he was talking about, you know, they started a conflict and they was trying to, he's ending the war. That stuff is not going to end.
Right.
It's not going to end because it's a situation that's no longer going to end as far as just like black people here in America,
Right.
because they keep doing stuff and they could say, okay, stop marching for right now because we killed this one individual that was unarmed and it was blatant. And we stopped them from marching and protesting now because we're going to pass the act, or in the past, the Civil Rights Act or the Voting Act to soothe everyone. And then it's going to go back because it's not in the fiber of this system. It's a systemic racist system that's going to keep doing systemically racist things to us. That's going to have us at the, you know, at their throat for or defending ourselves. So all the stuff that's happening over there, we have to educate ourselves, and we should be allies with anyone that's being oppressed.
Yeah, should be instead of against them. But again, it's that religious mindset that have been tampered with, that's corrupted. But you know, when I say teach the children, I don't necessarily mean, because you're right, most of us could care less about what's going on over there. Okay, we're just trying to put food on our table. But when I say that, I'm saying, you know, you teach a 7 or 8 year old, you know what? Right now, this country is in a war. We didn't start it. We had nothing to do with it. But a deranged individual got us involved in this. And what we're going to do now as a family is we're going to make sure that we save everything we can and help each other while we go through this time. And that's what I mean.
And with that being said, we're going to read your comment, Josiah, in a second. I just want to say this. This is not anything new. And if that's what we should do, why do we even join the military?
Well, we joined the military because of what you said.
Yeah,
we don't join the military thinking that we're going to be put on the front line.
But we should be thinking that, because when I I'm gonna say this, when I was in the military, it was no wars happening.
Right.
You know, it was a conflict in Iran when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the whole Iran Contra thing where they had the hostages, but it wasn't a war like that, and it hasn't been a war since I think Vietnam. So it was like, so when I joined, that's why war was in the way back. Now I tell people, man, why are we always in conflicts? We always sending troops everywhere. So when I was in the Desert Storm thing broke out, we was like, well, people was freaking out. I'm talking about soldiers. I'm gonna spill beans. I was in Fort Ord, and we had an 8th evac, which is medical, which is a lot of women. You know, they allow women to enlist and stuff. And they was, man, them women was going AWOL. They're like, I didn't sign up for no war. And you know, we had alerts like they was about to send people. And a lot of them people wasn't in formation. Them people was getting like, they didn't sign up for that. That was the mentality. I signed up for benefits. I didn't sign up. Why are we fighting? But then ever since then, that's all that has been happening is conflicts. So that's why I think the mentality now is, why do you even let your kid? You should find a better avenue. You know, and I understand, like, hey, man, things are tight. You know, go to college, do something. That's the mentality I think we should have with our kids.
Wow. We have a couple of comments, and Sister Nikita said he believed his own lies, and you know who she's talking about. Then she follows up.
Oh, I thought you was talking about me. I'm about.
No. And then she says this dude has mental issues, and then she's right. It's beyond that.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't even put a word on this person, because
she said something before that. Also, the screen jumped. I'm sorry.
She said he still can't even say why we are in the war. You know, and that's true. Then Josiah comes in and says the sad part that doesn't get talked about enough is the psychological damage and the soldiers who have lost limbs, arms, and body parts that lived through the war, yet they come home to be thrown on the streets. A lot of the programs are terrible and have deceived the soldiers. Now, that's a whole nother broadcast.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's how it has been in the past, especially it has been like that with the black soldiers. I read something, the ones that was coming back from World War II, and it was saying how in Vietnam, It was like because we were in combat there, we were losing lives
Mm.
constantly. It was a war that we did not win. It wasn't against an inferior foe.
Mhm.
So they was, it was the communists versus us. Russia was back in North, or the Viet Cong, and the Chinese. Well, the Chinese was back in Viet Cong, and they had soldiers,
Mhm.
and some of the Chinese special forces soldiers was going in there fighting too. I know people that was in it and that was telling me, man, I got in combat, a hand-to-hand combat with a
Mm.
Chinese person
Mhm.
that was a Chinese special force.
Mhm.
So we thinking the Viet Cong, and I said, how did you know? He said, because the Chinese are bigger people.
Mm.
And then he said, and he gave me the, like, I came up on the dude and this happened, and but then I'm thinking like, okay, we have people that come back, and the soldiers, the black soldiers came back to oppression, being
Mm.
spit at,
Mm.
told to sit in the back of the bus. Your uniform means nothing.
Mhm.
And white soldiers came home to parades. So it hasn't been a good thing for us to be in these wars. As far as the black community, we thought things would change. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm saying, and we had people that came back that was, I mean, they're damaged, both
Yeah.
sides. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. If you're on the battlefield, you come back damaged. I had one of my best friends I grew up with, and he has PTSD,
Mm.
and he's taking pills. He's dealing with things. I have another one of my good friends. He's having nightmares, same thing,
Yeah.
PTSD.
Yeah.
Brother we know, and you know, nightmares at night. Sometimes his brother call me at night, and I'll talk him down,
Okay.
walk him off the ledge.
Right.
Sometimes he tell me, man, he say, man, I appreciate you because you don't know what that means. Just having somebody I could
Yeah.
reach out to and call.
Yeah.
But just I was right. Those things are a reality,
Mm.
but they always have been a reality.
Yeah.
And so this is why I'm saying, why do we? I remember when I signed up. My parents didn't know. I was
Mm.
like, man, they didn't know a lot of things, but it was like the streets was watching, the streets was closing in.
Mhm.
And I was looking, friends dying, friends killing each other, and I'm like, man, I got to escape,
Mm.
and I'm like, my escape was the military because I had a head on my shoulder so I could pass the test.
Mm.
And I remember my dad said, I heard you join the military.
Mm.
And I couldn't go. See, I graduated high school earlier, and I couldn't go then. So I had to wait till I turned 18. So I'm out in the streets. It's between high school and me being eligible to actually go in the military, which you have to be 18.
Mhm.
So I wasn't there yet. So I was in the streets, like I was 16-year-old senior in high school.
Mm.
So I couldn't. So I signed up. I took the test. I did everything. I didn't ask my mom. I didn't talk to my dad about it. And then I was like, okay, I signed the paper, but it was like it was extended. Okay, on this date, you can go when you're 18 and on this date. So my parents, I told them after I signed up, and my dad came and talked to me on the porch. He was like, hey, I heard you signed the military. This is not what you really want. It's like, yeah, well, it's too late for all of that. So I think those conversations should have been had before that. And I think that's what we have to do. I always said, instead of being out there doing the drug stuff, if that's what you're going to do, I send you to the military because you're out there having war in the streets with no benefits.
Mm.
At least do this, and you could, if you pick a job that don't have to be out on the battlefield, where you're not pulling the trigger or shooting a bomb and stuff, you're in the back, technological job, things like that. They have people that do that. Pick a job like that where you pretty much will be safe and you get benefits.
Wow.
You rolling the dice, but you're getting benefits as
Right.
opposed to rolling the dice out here in the streets, dodging bullets and all this stuff and dodging the pen, and you're not getting benefits.
Wow. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, we lived in a place in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it was an apartment complex, and the walls were so thin that you could hear what goes on in the next apartment rather. And so when I would go to the restroom, in the mirror of the restroom, the wall separated the apartments, but you can hear what goes on next door. And there was always like this guy screaming to the top of his lungs. And, I used to tell my sisters, man, we moved next to a deranged, a crazy man. And he would scream, I'm talking about all throughout the day and all throughout the night. And I'm like, what is going on? I mean, nobody's over there because I know he lived by himself. Well, I found out, man, that this guy had been in Vietnam, and the things that he had seen, the things that he had gone through, it had basically destroyed his mind. And it wasn't so much nightmares. It was like he would just, I'm talking about scream, and people were afraid of him because he didn't get help. But it let me know from that day going forward that when you go to the military and you see battle, what we see affects us to the degree that it changes our lives for the rest of our lives. And I don't know to this day, I know the gentleman probably has passed away, but it's a shame, like what Josiah said about how our brothers come back that have
Right.
seen, that have been in war and what they have to deal with. And to this day, I will never forget those sounds as a young man that affected this man to the
Yeah.
till he left this earth.
And I do want to say again that war has changed for America. They're not fighting opposition that's supposed to be on the battlefield with us. We're thinking that we're superior to them.
Mm.
So even the troops that they're sending over there, there's going to be it's not going to be a Vietnam situation.
Right.
It's not going to be a Korea. You know, my grandfather, both my grandfathers on both sides fought in the wars. You
Mhm.
know, and one of them I know was highly affected. You know, and he had PTSD and he would drink a lot. You know, and he would speak the language. You know, they learned but I'm saying this to say that the war has changed.
Mhm.
And like I say, now it's drones,
Mhm.
now it's missiles. It's very few, you know, they sending
Yeah.
troops like that. And I
Yeah.
think with the safety part of us sending our troops over there is thinking that we are so superior to them that it's not going to be a lot of casualties. So if you believe that the war is such a terrible thing, then you got to find a way not to have your kids in the war type situation, combat situation.
And even with the person and the people that's in government now, you have to give that second thought, because we're dealing with some people, man, that words can't express how sadistic they are as far as what they will do. These people don't care about their own parents. Now I know they do, literally, but they would do anything, man, just because they want to be, as you mentioned, superior. They want to, flex their muscles. And I've always thought about these older gentlemen who make these decisions. They can't fight, man. They have a heart attack throwing a blow, but they are always the ones who, yes, I declare war and we're going to do this. And I listen to them and I'm like, you can't even fight, but yet you're making decisions that's going to affect a lot of people, and
Right.
that's sad. That's
Yeah,
sad.
and they kids ain't over there.
No,
You know, so that's the thing. They're
draft
rich. A lot of
dodgers.
these people in Congress that may eat, even though Congress didn't declare the war, this dude did it on his own. But their kids are not, because they're wealthy. If you look at America, all these politicians are millionaires, if not billionaires. So we got, they got hundreds of millions of dollars. They're wealthy. Their family is not. The Kennedys, and you look at all these names like this. These people that we're electing into office, into the Senate, into Congress and stuff. So when you have everyday people, the people that should be there that understands our everyday situations, those are the people that should get voted in, but they're not being voted in. So what you have there is an elitism. And they are making judgment, and they're passing laws, and they're declaring wars, and they're using even the white people that's in there. Those are the people that can't keep their kids out of there. Those are the people that's in almost the same boat as us.
Wow.
That they have to have their kids in the Marines, or in the Navy and things like this. So that support the foot soldiers and all these things. These are poor people. That's economics.
Yeah.
So even if it's white, black, brown, whatever, those are the people that don't have the money to keep their kids from going in the military. So that's the situation that we have to look at, educate ourselves on what's happening here. And then I'm gonna say one more thing. When you look at who's in office, see, a lot of these people was already in the military when this guy got in office again. So now it's like, man, this dude is in office, but I'm already here. What you gonna do? You gonna go AWOL? You gonna be a deserter? You gonna do what? See, like I said, when I was in the military, I had no intentions or plans of going. It was nobody. We had no enemies.
Right.
The whole Russia was our enemy, but we didn't want it with them. They didn't want it with us because it was going to be nuclear. So it wasn't going to be foot soldier combat. And when something jumped off, and we was going to first it was Panama. I was in there for Panama, and then people was like, man, I saw people getting shipped out. Some of my good friends was getting shipped out. And they was down there, you could step on a landmine, whatever. Then it became Desert Storm and this Iraq thing. We sending troops over there like that. So you're already in the military,
That's really interesting, man. If anyone wants to call us, the number is 361-405-6111. Again, that's 361-405-6111. And we want to make a special announcement. We had a brother named Giovanni who came on this broadcast a few months ago, and he's a part of an organization called OLA, Hands Off of Latin America. And he gave us some information he wanted us to share with you. And basically, they're still having their medical and school supply drive. And he's wanting us to just mention that Hands Off Latin America and Mayat Bookstore have united to collect medical aid and school supplies for Cuba. The Mayday Brigade, leaving in late April, will be delivering all supplies collected from San Antonio. And I'll stop right here because I want to say a little bit more about some of the supplies. But I understand that we even supported him because I went to my bookstore and he said, you come by and
we
brought some
got me. I
information.
mean, Jah and Kev show. We got a whole box out there of syringes, diapers, some of the aspirin. Now, there's some things on the list that we can let y'all know what they need. And if you want to go down to the Kwanzaa Market, Maya Bookstore, and inquire, they have the pamphlets out there, the things that they need, and the school supplies, some of the medical stuff. Now, if you think about what's happening, like we alluded to,
Mhm.
Black people are not keeping up. The America has a blockade on Cuba. The electricity was out, so now
Yeah.
you have no incubators, things in the hospital. You have to think about this. They're doing the same thing to Cuba we are that
Yeah.
the Israelis is doing to the people in Gaza.
Mhm.
They could cut off their electricity at any time in the winter time, and people are freezing, kids are hungry. They're doing all of these things like that, and so the same thing is happening here in America, and we're not declaring war on Cuba.
Mhm.
But what it is Cuba has been a thorn in our side for a
Mhm.
long time because we have not been able to oppress Cuba.
Mhm.
And when the brother came on, if y'all check out the show, the Ola show, HOLA,
Mhm.
the brother gave us a lesson on
Wow. Yeah.
everything happening with Cuba and Venezuela, and
Yeah.
a lot of things out that we didn't know. And I'm sure a lot of like you say, we don't get involved in a lot of those things. But America has a blockade
Mhm.
on Cuba, so they're not allowing other people to give them supplies and stuff. They're
Mhm.
starving them out
Mhm.
for no reason. Cuba has not been a threat to us in any kind of way. And it's like if you look at what's happening around the world, things like this will open your mind and
Yeah.
open your eyes up to who we are as a country. We're talking about Israel. This is who we are as a country.
Right.
Even though we may not agree with it, but this is what America is, and this is what's happening.
Mhm.
So these are things we need to talk to our Congress people about. We could go to talk to your Congress. These people you're voting in. You could say Trump, but then what is the Senate doing?
Mhm.
What is what is the House doing?
Mhm.
Why are they not saying no, stop this? This is inhumane or whatever. So the brother came on and he gave us a list of things, and we're sending things from the Jah and Kev show. They need syringes. We got diapers, we got all kind of things on this list, man. I know if you said you was gonna read, you want to
Yeah,
read some
and,
of
and
it.
I wanted to say, please consider donating, you all, because this is a way that we can show our support. Please consider donating because every little bit counts, and it demonstrates to Cuba that they are not alone because San Antonio is with them by our donations. So drop off your supplies at Mayat Bookstore, 3455 Martin Luther King Drive, Saturdays from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And if you cannot make it this day, please call 210-542-9278 and we can arrange so they get picked up. And as Kev was saying, there's so many items that they need, medical supplies. They need allergy medicine, aspirin, as far as ibuprofen, band-aids, first aid supplies, cold medicine, Maalox, syringes, as we have given condoms, menstrual products, powder milk, school supplies. They need notebooks. They need spiral bombs. They need mechanical pencils with lead refills, washable markers, crayons, and colored pencils, art supplies. So just please let that brother not come on this show in vain.
Right,
Please
right.
stop by there and do
Yeah.
something, okay?
Yeah. And when you talk about some of the stuff that they need, first aid supplies, when you talk about medicines, they talk about ibuprofen and aspirin and things like this. it can't be used.
Mhm.
It can't be the seal can't be broken because they're
Mhm.
going to go through a customs that's not going to allow them. They're thinking they could turn them back for any reason.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give you an example, but that he gave us. But like you can't have something they're gonna think they're gonna say, well, you could be slipping in drugs or something
Mhm.
like that to these people, knowing that these people are in dire straits and they don't need the drugs ain't what they looking for. They looking for help and they
Right.
looking for medical help. They hospitals, they got people sick. They don't have bandages. They don't have sanitizers. They need all these type of things to for their people.
Right.
But like he's talking about the menstrual products. They're not allowing tampons
Mhm.
because they say that you could put drugs in them, and that's somebody that the way that they can inject it. It's like, okay, so just give pass.
Right.
That's like that. I'm giving an example because that's how strict they are. They're allowing humanity. They can't stop humanitarian things. From what brother told us,
Mhm.
they can have this humanitarian mission, but they're asking for help for all of us, anybody that can help out.
Yeah.
And these people are in dire straits over there.
Wow. And also, we want to go back to this war that we're talking about and how it affects us. And although the war is still raging, we were asking you to stay grounded in your immediate reality. In other words, continue to focus on your home, focus on your family, focus on your work, and focus on your health, because those are very important parts of life that we should look at, whether it's a war going on or not. But because there is a war and because a lot of these prices are soaring, and although we've made it in the past, don't just let that be something that you take willy-nilly and say, well, you know what, we always going to make it, because these children, these young adults, these older adults, these senior citizens, a lot of them has been affected greatly by this war because their medicines have gone up.
Yeah.
Just in it's not just about oil, it's about what oil products come from oil that
Right.
really can help people, and prepare without panicking. In other words, keep basic food, and we've often said this, keep more water than you need.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
more water than
Yeah.
you need. I'm want to rob this guy after this broadcast. He has so much water out there. Every time I drive up, he got water in his garage. I'm gonna rob this guy. So
I
I'm
knew he was gonna
committing right
say
now.
that.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
confessing right now. The basic food, medications. Make sure that you're up to par on what you need, so that in the event that something catastrophic happens, because we can wake up tomorrow, brother Kevin, and we can find out that something else has happened overnight. Like
Right.
they bomb people at night. They'll say, well, we're not going to bomb. We're going to be, allies. We're going to try to work with you, knowing in their hearts that they're going to do something.
Yeah.
And they'll do something that'll affect us. And I just don't want it to be said that we weren't prepared, because you can't trust the people that are running this government right
Right.
now.
Right. And I'm gonna read a comment from Josiah. He said, "Wow, Ik Tom, my heart goes out to the brother you heard screaming through those walls. When you look at how evil war truly is, it will mess up your mind." He said, "Was that brother afraid to get help?"
He tried to get help, but they couldn't help him, in a sense where he was like you and I, where if I needed some help now, I'm in my right mind where I can sit down and talk with you.
Right.
And then you can say, well, Jah, this is what you may want to do, and I'll listen to you. But his mind was pretty much gone. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it had been shattered from what he had seen and what he had been through. And so they gave him this apartment, and I don't even know what became of him, but it was terrifying when you would hear that, because at first you would hear it and it's like, what is going on? But
Right.
no one else is over there. So his mind was so messed up. He wasn't in the frame of going and sitting down and saying, like some people, I need help.
Yeah. See, like I'm gonna say this: there's different levels of PTSD, and there's different ways that it's shown. Sometimes that homeless person, they don't want to be bothered.
Mhm.
All they want is to drink, and they want whatever it is that some people turn to drugs and all these type of things like this. And it's people that's around. And I knew a sister that was going out to try to give food. And the people, I know one lady, she's like, just leave me the hell alone.
Mm.
Like, why are you trying to leave me alone? So some of these, it's mental, issues that they may have. Some of them are, if you, like I say, a brother I know, he could speak, you could speak to him normally,
Mm.
like, everything is cool. And my brother Richard, I'm gonna say, and this, I don't think he's concerned about his business like that. He, everyday conversation, but some like 4th of July happens and he freaks out.
Mm.
People don't realize New Year's because of the fireworks, because
Mm.
he's been in situations, and he calls me and he tells me these things and these nightmares that he's having. That's
Mm.
real. And it's not just having a nightmare. I'm
Right.
talking about he's interacting.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's fighting people, and
Wow.
people that's around him is looking at him, and he's swinging at the air or fighting, and these things like that. So then it's like, okay, he's working with the VA. But see, the VA is so like they're dragging their feet on trying to do these type of things or help these people in this type of way. Sometimes they don't want to help and it's left with the family trying to help. And sometimes family is like, okay, I can't do anything or whatever. So those are issues that people have. And this is one thing I'm gonna say this. I always like I go to these games and they say the veterans stand up. We want to acknowledge you for whatever, this is military appreciation. I never stand
Mm.
because you walk by the people that's homeless, the
Mhm.
veterans that's homeless, and you
Mhm.
don't give a damn. Now,
Mhm.
when it's some type of way of acting like, hey, we care about you,
Right, right.
stand up and people want to applaud. No, that's not what we
Yeah,
need. I don't
yeah.
need applause. I don't even need anything from me.
Mhm.
Help my fellow soldiers that's damaged, that's been, they out there and they're in the pieces and help scoop up them pieces.
Right, right.
That's something that we should be talking about with our Congress people and all these things like this about what are you doing for these soldiers when they come back?
Right.
Not the ones just missing arms and limbs, but some of them that's
Their
missing things
minds.
up
Yeah.
here. To me, when you get out the military, if you've been to combat, then you should get an automatic free
Mm.
living quarters
You
and things
should.
like that.
That's true. And for all of those out there that are anti-imperialistic, as I am, and I'm sure Brother Kevin is, as far as we oppose these wars overseas, especially for the reasonings. But while recognizing injustice is at home, we also need to strategize how to survive here in this country. What can we do to make our families better? And we always go back to the basics because that's where it's at right now. Regardless of what's going on in this world, take care of your family.
Yeah.
Men be men, okay? Don't use the war to go out and just do things that are just unrelated to life. Getting drunk, getting high, talking crazy, doing things. Well, we're at war. No, you have a family at home. Take care of your children. Do the best that you can. Sit them down and talk to your girlfriend, your wife, your boyfriend, your significant other, and just allow them to know that, hey, even though this world seems like it's spiraling out of control, as a man, we're going to make sure that we try to save what we can while we can. We're going to make sure that we do a lot of things that's frugal and make sure that these kids are educated in the way of what to do and what not to do. Because as you mentioned, if we don't talk to our children, they will end up doing things like yourself and me, of course, in different aspects of life, joining the military and not being told before that decision is made, why are you doing that?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. Let me interject this, man. This is a big thing. Like I say, me and I know a couple of my friends, we escaped the hood. Clean up our hood, work on our hood,
Okay.
then that won't be an avenue for many of us. That's the work that got to be done, whether it's a war going on or not.
Mm.
We gotta. I call a cup of sugar mentality. Back in the days when we was younger, my mom or somebody used to come to our house, knock on our door, and they'll say, "Hey, I'm so and so. My mom want to know if she could borrow a cup of sugar." And they'll come with the cup. We'll pour the sugar in there, give it to them. They need it for whatever they don't have the money to go to the store. They don't have enough money to buy a bag of sugar. Sugar may have been $2.56 or something. So we was on that type of mentality in our community before our community got flipped on the side with all the drugs and our guns and all these things like this. But we as men have to try to take control of our communities. And this is how we can show our kids or give them a better avenue than joining the military that don't give a damn about you. Now, if you believe in that, more power to you, but I don't want to be pushed. I felt like I was forced to do that was a decision. I didn't have a lot of avenues that I could take. I didn't want the college thing to be a burden on the family. I didn't want to be trying to take out loans. We was already, struggling to make it. So my thing was, I'm gonna get away from home. This is me getting away from home, making my own money. Nobody has to worry about me. And now, if you don't want that to happen, if you're talking about these nightmares with war and what you envision war to be, then do something in your community so we don't have to be in a higher percentage than our population and higher percentage of soldiers being in the war.
That's true. That's a good talk. And also, brothers and sisters, I want to say, don't be overly concerned about this. In other words, don't watch the news 24/7 every day, and that's all you do, because that's overkill in a sense. It's not a play on words. It's just, we know what's going on. We know how it affects us, but then let's keep moving forward. Let's not stop, and let's not use this as something that we can continue to do maybe wicked and evil things. So again, don't every day that's all we talk about. As Kev and I, we talk about this periodically because it should be discussed.
Right.
You know, some people that would dare do a broadcast on this,
Yeah.
because they're saying, well, this is not about entertainment, this is not about athleticism and all that, but this is about life, man. This is about how things that happen in this world, especially in the United States, it affect people that look like you and I, and we
Right.
have to be able to talk about
Yeah.
it.
And like you said, talk to the kids, talk to each other. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to have discussions with each other, because a lot of us have no idea what's happening.
Mm.
We'll sit there and talk about why Iran is crazy, and we have no idea of the politics and policies that's happening.
Mm.
My man Anthony Gonzalez said, celebrating Taco Tuesday, Trump always chicken out. And he also said, Trump is using our military to rob other countries, and this is true. He's running it like a mafia boss. Whatever. He's a dictator, and my thing is, it's not just him. How is he having so much power? Why is Congress letting him get away with all of this? We got military generals that's resigning and all these things like this because he's doing inhumane things that's against the Geneva Convention. And what that is it's a worldwide thing, an agreement that you're not supposed to do certain things in war.
Right.
These are war crimes that you're not supposed to be committing. And he's talking about bombing civilian things that, like I say, turns off electricity and things like this to put the people, the civilians, in peril,
Wow.
and that's not what you're supposed to be doing at war. It is a code of conduct in war that countries are supposed to go by. And Kevin Harris, I appreciate you showing up, cuz. He said, Cousin Kev, continue doing your thing. Love you, man. So proud of you. I appreciate that, Kev. And we have what's Kotarki says speaking facts, and Anthony Gonzalez says my thoughts. I told a psychiatrist I didn't want to make any to take any medication. Let me scroll on that. He said for PTSD, because the military trained us to believe in killing for the cause is okay. What if it took a medication? What if I took medication and start thinking what I did was not right? Then what? And I appreciate that. That's something to think about.
Yeah.
See, that's what I know. My other homeboys and I've been knowing Ant growing up in the hood for a long time. And his brother, both of them have been over there in the military. We all joined the military around the same times to get away from the hood, and none of us was patriotic. People say, thank you for your, well, man, I'm trying to escape. Escaping America was what that was, the hood. But medication is something that they try to give you, and that's an easy way to deal with the situation. And you shouldn't be put in those situations because they're going to war for nothing. Yeah. America hasn't been in a situation where anybody was trying to invade our borders or attack us. Exactly. Every war that we have been fighting has been over money and oil and things like this, And I said, when I was in the military, they tried to send me over there. And I said to my commanding officers, and I said, y'all want to send me someplace, send me to South Africa. Let me fight apartheid, because my thing was I was being militant at that time, being in my blackness. And I'm like, man, these people ain't did nothing to me. Right. But these people, y'all giving me reason, or y'all giving American community or the American population reasons why we need to go over there and get Saddam. He's did this. They bombing. I'm like, man, they bombed our people. Yeah. I'm like, in Operation Move, they bombed out. The people, they don't know what I'm talking. Some of my fellow soldiers, but I'm like, I'm on that type of stuff, man. Y'all bombed us. Like, everything y'all talking about he did to his people, y'all been doing us. Y'all been killing our leaders. So they looked at me like, yo. Like, bro, we didn't know. Like, I had my first sergeant. He said, Kevin, I didn't know you was like this. He's like, I'm like, yeah, man, like, send me to South Africa. Yeah. I'll fight over there. Wow. I have no problem. But see, the things that we have to deal with when you're a soldier, you could be shipped off anytime. We don't want that to be an avenue. Now, some of us have gotten away, and we've had gotten out of it and gotten away from going to war, getting killed. And that's not what we want to do. You let them other people be acting like they are patriotic, but that's not really our thing in the hood.
Well, I'm glad that brother, man. I'm glad Brother Gonzalez said that he basically understood what this was all about. This taking medicine and not taking medicine as to why, and then just the rationale that he's using. He understands what really happened and what they try to do to us. They try to medicate us. And that a lot of that medicine, now some people may say they need it, but it basically destroys your mind. It
Right.
makes you
It
a
numbs you.
zombie
It
after
numbs
a
your
while,
mind.
right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you depend upon it. So when you don't take it, now you're craving. You'll do anything to get it, and you do things because you feel like you needed it. And it's like
Yeah.
this is a psychological war game that they play on us. And
Yeah.
I'm glad the brother was in
Yeah, and
his
I'm
right
glad he
mind to
ain't
do
take no
that.
medication. It's one of the sharpest brothers I
Yeah.
know, man. Wisest brothers I know. And Lede Bishop, she said, "Sorry, I'm late. Good evening, gentlemen." And Barbara Royal said, "I appreciate the dialogue, brothers. You always share what's important and most needed for the community."
That's
Okay.
important. That's important, Kevin. This is why I appreciate doing this broadcast with you, going on 2 years strong and going stronger than ever, because we don't shy away from seriousness, And a lot of times, and I'm not down on anybody that's a podcaster, because there's great podcasters out there that's doing what we're doing as well. But sometimes, we like foolishness, man. We don't want these types of discussions, and for people to say that, it means a lot to us, because we know that we're going to do a broadcast on that which affects us as a people.
Right.
Every
Right.
broadcast we do, we always encouraging people. We always, giving people insight, and we're taking the comments to our own hearts. So this is a reciprocal type of broadcast where we spit facts out and people take and they say they like it, but we also appreciate the comments, because
Right.
a lot of the comments have taught me a great deal. And it's just a good thing to know that when we sit down and we get behind these mics, we're not playing games, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not about laughing and joking. We may laugh every once in a while, but it's not about that. The Jah and Kev show is about the black community, communities, period, oppression, or how to build ourselves up, what's needed. If y'all have any topics y'all want us to discuss, feel free to put it in the comments. We'll look at it. And I don't have my paper with the email because I show you I don't go into the email that much.
Well, I gotta make a confession right now, running my mouth. And there was a gentleman or a young lady that called 11 minutes ago. It just dropped off the screen. So I'm the one who always supposed to answer the phone and bring them in. But whoever that was, I apologize. And the next time we get together, please call back. We're going to give you the floor, and you can say whatever you want to say. I am so
Yeah.
sorry, because I should have been on my job, but unfortunately, I messed up. So I apologize to whoever that
Yeah,
was.
call back again whenever you want. You could give them a mouthful about that. We're gonna give you the floor to do that, and then say whatever you want to say. I appreciate the call, though.
Right. Well, Kev, man, you got any final, as you ask me sometimes, any parting words you want to share with
No,
the
no,
people?
no, man. I appreciate the topic, man. Talking about the war, current topics, and how it affects us, and that's mainly what it is. How does everything affect us?
Yeah, yeah.
We're affected by everything that happens in this country, even if we indirectly.
Right.
Like you say, the prices of things we get hit the hardest, but I
Yeah.
think we're the most resilient.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, the cup of sugar type attitude. This is something we got to go back to.
Yeah.
We got to bond with each other, build our communities up strong,
Mhm.
and close, close ranks, and no matter what, it don't have to be. Don't wait till something is happening. We got to start building brick by brick our communities back to
Well
where
said.
it's okay for somebody to say a cup of sugar. My neighbors, I don't even know their
I
names,
hear you.
but that's something that we got to do better. And maybe they don't really want to know my name.
Mhm.
They see my red, black, and green that's out there on my car and everything, and maybe they like hands off. But if you stop and talk to the brother, you understand it's nothing but love. I
Yeah.
got nothing but love for
Yeah.
any of you or any of my neighbors. I don't care whether you black or brown or whatever. This is our community.
Yeah.
And don't detach yourself, even though you're not in the hood. Don't detach yourself from the hood.
Wow.
Just like we're talking about doing stuff for Cuba, we got to be doing stuff for our
Yes, sir.
community and
Yes, sir.
building up.
Wow, what some beautiful words to end on. But I want to say this: stay tuned. The Jah and Kev show. We have some announcements that's coming up within the next few weeks. So we're going to post them, but we're thinking about going remote, and we want all of you out there to show up. We're going to find a place. We're going to invite you out, and we're going to talk about anything that's on your heart. And we would love you to come out, participate, and subscribe to our broadcast, because this broadcast is about us. And so just stay tuned. We're going to let you know real soon where we're going to be, and we'll pick a time and date, and we want you to come out to support.
And
the
if you can't
broadcast.
call in, if you can't come out, call in, say something, put some words out there, not for us, But for everybody else that may be listening, or that may go to YouTube and hear this show later,
Right.
and let them know what you feel. We're not going to censor what you're saying. We're not going to attack it. You could say, I love America and all this stuff. That's fine. And nobody's going to say, well, you shouldn't say that. Speak your piece, get in, say what you got to say and get out. Or you can ask us questions or whatever.
All right.
Peace.
Y'all take care.
Now.